Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to Wake Up Charlotte after the show, where we chat about some of the big news items of the day. And today, I'll be honest, folks, it's a bit of a sad one because at the beginning of the pandemic, you'll remember we talked about it on Wake Up Charlotte a lot, that there was a rush to go out and adopt animals at local shelters. You couldn't find a shelter animal because people were staying at home. And spending more time at home, and they spent more time with able to spend more time with the dog, and it was great news. And we were all very, very excited about, hey, look at this is what's happening. Unfortunately, we are now seeing the other end of that, and it's really a record return rate of animals being taken back to the shelters, and the shelters at this point don't know what to do. Ruby, you've been following the issue this morning, specifically in South Carolina, but honestly, it's all across the Carolinas.
Yeah, so just coming back on the end of what you just said there, how people were, buying or adopting all of these pets during the pandemic to find a companion to get them through. Well, I said a stat earlier in the show, 23 million people across the country adopted a pet during the pandemic. But now there's a state of emergency in South Carolina where they're over capacity. They've been having homeless pets coming in left and right for weeks after weeks. There's an animal shelter in Lancaster County right now where they're having to close down for the remainder of the week because they cannot accept any more pets at this moment. So shelters across the state of South Carolina, they're all banding together, joining together, and they're going to do something called a SummerSlam emergency rescue. And basically from now until October 22nd, not only are they urging you to come out and adopt a pet, they're also going to be waiving adoption fees, and some other shelters, they will reduce that price. They're asking businesses to become adoption ambassadors. They're asking people to, sponsor some adoption fees, rescue groups. They're asking them to take on additional at-risk animals. And then government shelters, they're asking through this rescue plan to manage moratorium. So a lot is going right now in the state of South Carolina, but they're really trying to, put the word out there as much as they can that, these animals need a place to go. A lot of them are also being abandoned on the streets. So it's a very sad story, but hopefully we can, be a part of that message to get folks to some of these shelters and adopt.
Let me just mention one thing, that WCNC Charlotte is involved with all the shelters in the area. And in fact, around the country, along with our partners at NBC Television, Clear the Shelters is this month through September. It's a campaign to help. We do this every year, this year more than ever. So not only in South Carolina, but across the entire nation, the situation is in an entire emergency. And we want to help out as much as we can. The adoption fees have been waived in many of these shelters. So every shelter in our viewing area, we're trying to make sure we clear them out. And last year, 4.3 million cats and dogs were in shelters in the United States. So when you think about all those abandoned animals and even more now, it's imperative that we kind of help out. And like we say, the motto was, let's clear the shelters.
Right.
So we want viewers to chime in. Let us know, have you adopted a pet during the pandemic? Let us know what shelter you got your animal from. But even with this Clear the Shelters event, we need to remind people, think long and hard before you adopt a pet. Make sure you will not drop that pet back off. You will not return it. You know the responsibilities that come with having a pet. You understand the cost. You have a plan in place if you do have to leave your home and go back to work. You said this during the newscast, Larry, and having two dogs myself, I completely agree with this, that our pets are a part of our family. They're like adopting another loved one, so you want to make sure that you can take care of the pet before you adopt it, for sure.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate for this. As you know, I also have two dogs, but I have two pit bulls, where a lot of times I'll say, hey, you have pit bulls, and people's eyes almost get wide just at the fact. But a lot of the dogs in the shelters are pit bulls, and pit bulls were initially nanny dogs. So they were nanny dogs because they are such caring individuals. And I had a Juliet, and we got a Romeo 2 years ago, but it was because somebody dropped him off. He was wandering around the streets. He had wasn't neutered, had no collar, no microchip, and his paws were almost falling off. You had pieces that were peeling back. They were so red. He was so skinny. So I now have a second dog because somebody just let him go. So yeah, it's a big responsibility, but having those two dogs in my life makes for one great social media post, but also it's filled my heart with such great joy. So yeah, if somebody is thinking about this, really thinking about it with this event that we have coming up, even right now, this is your perfect opportunity.
So Larry, I know that you're the face of Clear the Shelters every year. Even during the newscast, you always put up a cute pup that needs to be adopted and where they can find them. So talk about ways people can help, not only during the Clear the Shelters event, but all year long. Where can they go? Where can they get more information, and what can they do?
We have all the information on WCNC.com, and we're asking people, you can help out, because if you think about that figure of 4.3 million cats and dogs, if you can't adopt, can't give a home, then there's other ways to help, and that's making a contribution to the shelter in your area. Once again, that list is on WCNC.com. That includes Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, Animal Care Control, Humane Society of Charlotte, Humane Society of York County, Gaston County Humane Society. They're all around the area, and you can find it online as well. But if you can't adopt, think about helping these innocent animals. It's not their fault. And making a simple contribution could help, because you got to take care of these pets at the shelters, and that's food, and that is cost of health care and things like that. Oftentimes, you heard what Chris was saying about his dog brought in barely alive. So oftentimes when these animals are taken into shelters, they need a lot of care, care from the veterinarians there. So you can help out in that respect. Once again, like Sarah was saying, we've always said this: if you're going to take that pet home with you, that is what we call a forever friend. It's not to take home for a couple months and take it back. They're not a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
They are a living being that give you back so much love.
And maybe, if you can't commit to fully adopting a pet, I'm sure you can talk to some of these shelters about being a foster parent and taking these dogs in for a short amount of time, dogs and cats, until they find their forever home. That's another option too.
I saw on social media earlier where someone said, be there for them like they were there for you. And that definitely resonated with me. I don't have a pet, but just thinking, if people bought a pet or adopted a pet during the pandemic, if you were alone, or if you were living by yourself, or you just needed, a companion at that time. And then now so many are, being given back to shelters or put out on the streets. I can just only imagine the pet in this situation too, being comfortable and, having that familiar face, and then all of a sudden now back to square one. So hopefully folks out there can definitely contribute, or if you can adopt, definitely do so, because state of emergency, South Carolina, August 22nd, that's when they're really going to be pushing this. So hopefully after that deadline that they are launching this rescue plan, that they can see some better days at those shelters. A
lot of people chiming in. Joy said she adopted her dog from the Humane Society. Donna, I have a rescue cat. She wants to get a dog as well. Shyla, our rescue Max, is an awesome guy. So we have a lot of viewers who are animal lovers as well.
Yeah, our Clear the Shelters campaign honestly can't come at a better time, as we see our shelters struggling at this point. So here's hoping we here at WCNC Charlotte and some of you all at home can help us out here in the next few weeks as we really start the campaign, as we do this time every year. And in the meantime, if you're thinking about getting a shelter dog, give it a lot of thought. I mean, the only downside about talking about this, I never feel like it's a good idea to guilt people into getting a dog, or saying, hey, our shelters are full, no, that's not what we're saying. Don't go get a dog if you don't want one, because you know what? Then you end up what we have right now. Is your dog is returned, and that doesn't do anybody or your dog any good. And I also think there are well-intentioned, well-meaning people who can't handle a dog, and I don't want to berate or guilt those people either. Make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into before you do it. And as I said this morning twice, and as Bob Barker always said, have them spayed and neutered. If we could control the pet population, this would not be such an issue. That's the root of the problem. We can guilt people all we want. We can feel bad for dogs. But the problem is we've got to control the pet population. And then we won't have a state of emergency. Never heard of that for an animal shelter. A state of emergency for an animal shelter. We won't have situations like that. And all those cute little fuzzy animals can find homes. So continue to weigh in. Let us know what you think. Clear the shelters. Keep that in mind. We'll be talking about it a lot. You'll be sick of hearing about it in the coming days here on WCNC Charlotte. And continue to weigh in, folks. Have a great day, everybody.